Safety experts are warning that the rise of cheap chargers for electrical items like mobile phones, laptops and even e-cigarettes could be putting people and their properties at risk.
It comes after 3 generations of one family died in a house fire in Sheffield last month. Investigation is continuing into the blaze, but the fire service says it's likely to have been caused by a faulty electrical charger. Jenny Hill reports.
It looks like your average phone charger. It's a cheap fake.
It doesn't meet the UK standards at all.
Ray and Mike are testing a random selection of chargers for us. They're mainly unbranded, they're from shops around London, and they could kill you. This one isn't properly insulated. And look what happens when this one's connected to the mains.
3, 2, 1. Scary. Very, very scary.
We're growing really concerned about electric chargers. There's so many coming into the UK at the moment. Last year we saw a 6-fold increase in electrical items seized at the borders, and the majority of those were chargers that were either cheap or fake or substandard. And the problem is people want cheap chargers.
But just look at the consequences. This young woman escaped with minor injuries when a charging e-cigarette exploded. And last month, 5 members of the same family died in a house fire in Sheffield, caused, it's thought, by a faulty electrical charger. It's a growing problem, according to firefighters here. Their advice: don't leave items charging overnight, keep them away from flammable materials, and don't buy cheap, unbranded chargers. It's easy to buy electrical chargers cheaply these days. Plenty of shops sell them. You can, of course, visit your nearest market or go online. But here's where it gets difficult. This is my official phone charger, and here's a cheap copy. They're almost identical, and yet the difference between them is crucial. But you can spot it if you know where to look.
It's a legal requirement that the product is marked with the manufacturer's name and the model number.
If there's no manufacturer mark, or the pins are shorter than usual, chances are it's counterfeit or substandard. Mike and Ray have tested 9 different chargers for us. Just 2 they found are safe to use. Jenny Hill, BBC News.
Those pictures are quite something. Kevin Ronan from South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue was watching them. I mean, have you seen the aftermath of this sort of thing happening?
Yeah, we've seen, you know, the devastating effect of these fires due to the chargers. The unbranded chargers are the main ones that are causing the problems.
And you could see, so just sort of when you go into a house, you go into a fire, you can track it right back to one socket and one connection. Is that
yeah,
right?
we work closely with the police and forensic experts to do a thorough investigation, which we did on the incident in Sheffield. That took over 4 days. The fire was very intense, and it spread rapidly throughout the property. And they tried to find the room of origin, which they did do, and then the source of the fire. And that's what we concluded the most probable cause was a charging device, a faulty charging device.
How would you know? I mean, we were talking in that piece by Jenny, weren't we, about ones that were not sort of branded ones. How would you know that you have got one? Well, you know if you bought a non-branded one, but one that is faulty as well. How would you know?
They'll have no markings on it. You know, if you've got a branded charger, it will have a kite mark on it. It will show where it's from, and it's a branded one. It's the increase of the unbranded, the cheap ones that you can buy online. 1.8 million chargers were bought online last year in the UK, a massive increase. There's no regulation for them, and we just want to, you know, encourage your viewers not to charge them unattended. Don't charge them overnight, because you know that's when they can obviously overheat.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's really frightening looking at those images there when those sparks emerge. You were saying about not charging overnight. Now, do those rules apply even if you know you have a legitimate charger? Well, is that a sort of principal position you take?
Yeah, if you have a branded charger, well then the risk is very low. I'm not saying that the risk is nil, but the risk is very low. If you're using an unbranded, unregulated charger, well then it increases the risk of that overheating, because there's, you know, it's not specific for that particular device. That's the issue, is that there's a different different types of charger that are not designed for that particular device, and because they're putting different levels of charge into the device, and that's where it's becoming overheated. If it's close to soft furnishings, well, obviously the heat can cause the fire through that. So we're encouraging, you know, members of the public to ensure that they have a bedtime routine, they turn all appliances off at night, turn all electrical appliances off at night, and when they go to bed is shut all the internal doors, because that could be a sort of a life-saving measure for families out there.
So you shut the doors so the fire can't pass from one
so the fire can't spread.
Okay, so many people, in practical terms, charge overnight because that's when your phone, whatever it is, you're not wandering around with it.
We are creatures of habit, and people get into habits of charging overnight. We're trying to encourage your viewers to change that habit and charge them at various times of the day. You know, I heard a radio sort of interview taking place in Sheffield after some of the prevention work that we did recently, where they heeded that advice, and they now are going to change the habit of charging it overnight and charge it in the day when they're there, because you know, you don't want an accident, a fire occurring from one of these chargers when you're asleep and you're not alert. But in the unlikely event that you're going to get a fire, you need to ensure that you've got working smoke alarms and that you have an escape plan. Consider, you know, what you're going to do in the unlikely event of a fire. Ensure that all your family are aware of how to get out of the house in case, you know, one of these sort of devastating effects of fire can take.
Kevin, thank you for your time this morning.
Okay, no problem.
Very sound advice. Thank you very much. Time now is 8:28.
And coming